Hey, good morning, everyone. So I'm back out here, and I got that Chevy Silverado with the Rich codes, the Rich Bank 1 and Bank 2. Now, a couple of you had mentioned, and I know it doesn't make sense. A couple of you mentioned, vacuum leaks, like that really doesn't make a lot of sense. And I know it doesn't. But I have seen on the 99 to 06 5.3 liters, I've seen more than a half a dozen times where the intake gaskets had a vacuum leak and it created rich codes. I can't tell you why, because it should set lean codes. I'm not 100% certain why it ever did it, but I remember the first 2 or 3 that I had that with rich codes. I mean, I went nuts trying to figure out what was going on, and somebody had told me, check for a vacuum leak. I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense. Sure enough, and it fixed it. So I don't care if I have a rich code or a lean code. Ever since those times, I check for vacuum leaks because it could do some weird things. Like I said, I know it doesn't make any sense, but I've seen it. So, okay, so I'm back out. The truck is cold. I'm going to start it up right now, and it shouldn't be in purge. So I'll pull the little cap off, and I shouldn't have any, I shouldn't hear the purge solenoid actually actuating. Remember, you could hear it fluttering yesterday? That means it was cycling. So I shouldn't hear that, but I shouldn't have any vacuum either. If I don't have any vacuum, then I got a funny feeling I have a saturated charcoal canister. So let's go ahead and start this and see what happens. All right. Like I said, this is the first start of the day. Now it should not be in purge. Old rims come in super handy as a small step. So, yeah, it's not in purge right now. You don't hear it making any noise. And no, I do not have any vacuum at all. There is nothing there. So, I think I have a plugged up, or a saturated charcoal canister. There is no vacuum here at all. So I'm convinced that this is actually working the way it's supposed to. So, a saturated canister, how does that happen? Well, people have a tendency to fill up their tanks and they like to top them off. You go all the way to the brim, and that'll give you a saturated canister. I've seen canisters get so saturated that they break down. I had this on an Avalanche. It broke down to the point where you couldn't put fuel in the vehicle because it kept on clicking off. So I'm going to hook this hose back up right now, and once I get a lift open, I'm going to get this thing inside, and I'm going to have to check the canister itself. I got a funny feeling it's saturated. I wonder if they're actually having any issues filling this thing up, because that would be another byproduct. The thing would click off constantly if it was full, or saturated, I should say. All right, so let me do that. Let me hook this line back up, and once I get a lift open, I'll get it inside. All right, so I got the Sierra in and on the lift, and I'm going to show you where the charcoal canister is underneath this thing. It's right there. It's in front of the gas tank on this. It's pretty simple to change. Now, like I said, I'm not sure if it's saturated or not. It could be, it might not be. But at this point, may as well try changing it. Now, these connectors usually they pop up. I think I got to get a screwdriver underneath the edge of this and pop this up. This one, you just depress the 2 little blue tabs down, and this should come out. I might have to do that with a screwdriver. And then this one, you got to press that tab or pull. I'm not quite sure. Let me see what I can figure out here to get these things disconnected. Like I said, it could be saturated, it might not be, but just judging by everything that's going on and how the data's looking, I got a funny feeling it is saturated. So let me start getting this thing unplugged and we'll go from there. All right, so there you see it. You got to pry up on that little screwdriver in between there and pick that up. It comes up. This one, like I said, you squeeze the 2 little tabs. Now, when you go back together with this one, what you want to do is you want to take this off of here and basically just spread it out like this, and you can get it up and out. And stick it in this end first. You want to just go like this and get it in place so it locks. Now this way, when it snaps on, it just snaps right on. Now you can see the top one, I just pulled that down and that released that. I'm just going to take the clip right out so I don't lose it. Well, maybe not. Yeah, there we go. Just take it out so I don't lose it. That's off. Now some of these, I've actually seen them so saturated when you pull this off, raw fuel comes out. Let's see. I don't know if I'm going to get anything out. Maybe, maybe not. No, actually, if you can see that, it is actually wet right there. It shouldn't be wet. Yeah, I smell raw fuel right there. If you look inside that green O-ring, you can actually see it's wet. Yeah, that's raw fuel in there. It reeks of fuel right now. So I got a funny feeling it is oversaturated. Unfortunately, obviously, you can't smell what I'm smelling. I guess that could be a good thing. But, all right, now to get this tank off of here, it's got a 13 right there. Take the 13 out, and then this whole thing comes out with the brackets. Let's get that out. All right, so with the nut off, this whole thing just slides out like so. So obviously you don't want to get the lines caught up and break a line. So there, that's out. Now I have seen these things actually absolutely fall apart before. The inside looks okay. I don't know if I'm going to get any actual raw fuel out of it. It's pretty heavy. Surprised at how heavy it is. All right, let me get the new one out of the box. All right, so here's the new tank. Charcoal canister, whatever you want to call it. Here's the old one. You got to transfer over this bracket. Just got to see, it's usually just like a push clip type thing. So let me get this off and transfer it to here, and let's get this hooked up. So there we go, that was pretty simple. So now let's put this up in place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray WD-40 on the tubes there and inside the tubes there. So let's get this up in place and bolt it up. All right, so it's up in place, bolting it down. Now, like I said, I'm going to spray some WD in there just to help get everything assembled. All right. There. Now, like I said, this will just snap in place. See that? So now that was nice and done. And this one, there. Push that down, and I gotta put that clip up in there. There we go. Very simple. So now, what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna let this thing down, and I'm gonna disconnect the battery, because I wanna reset everything. Because like I said, clearing codes is not gonna reset long-term trim. Actually, you know what? No, I want to watch it go down on my own. I want to watch it just come down and stay down. And then I'm going to take this thing on like a 25-mile road test. So let me do that. Let me let this thing down. I'm going to hook up the scanner, and then we're going to go for a road test. All right, so I'm ready to start out on my road test. As you see, I have no codes at the moment. Let's see. Let's just back out of this. Sorry, back out of that. See what the fuel trims are reading right now. All right, so -17. So they're lower than they were initially. And you could see we're positive on the short term. So positive on the short term, that's a great thing. So let's take it for a ride and see what's going on. See if everything changes. I think it's going to. I think we're good. I think it was just a saturated charcoal canister. So let's take it for a ride and see what happens. Like I said, I'm going to go for about a 25-mile ride. Obviously, you're not going to go with me for the whole road test. It would be ridiculous. But yeah, so let's go for a ride. All right, so I'm at a stop at the halfway point on my road test. And let's just look at the scanner, see what we got. Now you can see the long-term trim. It's been coming down. So that's good. That's a good sign. Let's go back and see if we have any pending codes. No codes present. All right, I'm very happy with it. Because as you remember yesterday, I took it on my short 5-mile test, and within 5 miles it set the rich code for the one bank. Would eventually set it for the other side too. But yeah, so I'm happy with this. This looks like it's going to be good. So let me finish up my road test. I'm only about a third of the way through. I stop at a church parking lot. It's just a good stopping point to check things. So let me just continue on the road test, and when we get back, we'll double check everything. Okay, so I just finished my road test, and if you look, the fuel trims are now -8, -5. So they're slowly coming down. That's like an average over a period of time. I don't know, whatever the parameter is, but it takes time for it to come down. Like I said, I could have disconnected the battery and had it reset down to 0, but I wanted to actually see it come down on its own. So now let's see. Like I said, that was a 25-mile road test. Let's just go back and see. Do I have any pending codes? Back to code menu. Not pending codes. This doesn't do pending codes. No codes present. So I'm happy with this. It's actually not often that I see a saturated charcoal canister, or emissions canister, whatever you want to call it. But that appears to be what the issue was with this. So, like I said in the beginning of the video, the vacuum leak at the intake can be very misleading. You would think it should set lean codes. I've seen it set rich codes. I wish, next time I get one in, I'm going to make a video on it, because I've seen it, and it really throws you for a loop, because you would think it would do the opposite, and it doesn't. So, but anyway, so this one obviously was a charcoal canister. The customer said that after they put the O2 sensors in it, the code came back almost immediately. And as you saw with me, just on a 5-mile road test, it came back. So, and now on a 25-mile road test, it's been fine. So I'm going to say that this is good. So what causes a saturated charcoal canister? Overfilling the tank. You overfill the tank, and you click it off, absolutely get up to filling neck. Well, you know what? It's got to go somewhere. It goes into the charcoal canister. And I've seen the charcoal canisters come apart, and they actually break down. And what happens is when they break down, that material that's in there swells up, and it actually will plug up the lines. And plugging up the lines, now the tank can't vent. And that's the situation where you go and you try to fill up the tank, and it's like click, click, click. It keeps clicking off, and you got to put it in super slow. That's because it's not venting. It can't vent. So, and I've seen with that too, is I've actually seen when the purge comes on, because the tank won't vent, I've actually seen it collapse gas tanks. It does happen. Hopefully I'll get one of those one day, and I can show you that. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, so that's about it. So if you're getting something out of my videos, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe too. All right, that's it. You guys have a great day. Keep wrenching.